Hi everyone, so today's video is going to be about some books that I've read that have disappointed me for various reasons. Also, before I start actually getting into this video, I just want to say that this is the first time that I'm filming a video in a couple weeks. I know that it might not seem like that because I have been posting every single week, but I have been just going through like my pre-filmed videos and like editing those. So yeah, if I seem a bit like rusty with filming, it's because of that. I'm not used to it anymore. Also, I'm currently experiencing another really bad pain flare for some reason. So I thought about not filming today, but yeah, I really need to film because I'm running out of pre-filmed videos. And if I run out of them, obviously I can't post anymore. So yeah, I'm gonna do my best to film this video. I'm sorry if I seem like less energetic than usual, or well, I don't really seem energetic at all usually. But yeah, if it's worse this time, it is because I don't feel well and I'm not used to filming. So yeah, let's just get into some books that I've read before that have disappointed me, again for various reasons. So yeah, let's just get into them. So the first book that I'm going to be talking about is Safety in Numbers. This is a book that I got from NetGalley. I got an ARC from it when I requested it. The reason why I requested it initially was because I saw it had disability representation. The main character has a traumatic brain injury, and I thought, oh, maybe this will have like good disability representation, even though when I read the description of this book, I already felt like the disability representation wasn't going to be great, but I still decided to request it and see for myself if it was good or not. And yeah, in my opinion, it wasn't good. It was really ableist at times, which again is really interesting considering the main character is literally disabled. But yeah, there were a lot of ableist things in it. I didn't like it at all. My Goodreads review goes into a lot more detail about it, because my memory is really bad at the moment, so I don't remember like exact things that were really ableist. But yeah, my Goodreads review about it does go into more detail. I also have talked about it in other videos, like in my wrap up where I finished this book. I don't remember what month that was. I'll see if I can find it. And yeah, just check out my Goodreads if you want to read like the Goodreads review for it. So yeah, obviously I was really disappointed by this book. This was one of the first books that I read from NetGalley and one of the first books that I also read on my e-reader. And yeah, it was just not a fun experience. I mean, I enjoyed like, highlighting it because again, it was one of my first times using my e-reader. So I used it like a lot. I would like highlight certain passages and then just write down how ableist I thought it was. And yeah, again, if you want to know more about my thoughts about this book, I will link like the video and then the Goodreads review maybe itself as well. Yeah, let's move on to the next book. So the next book is Upright Women Wanted. Now I read this with an audiobook. I thought this was very boring and I wasn't expecting that because I heard good things about it. But yeah, I just thought it was very boring and very underwhelming and very forgetful. Like I genuinely do not remember anything about this book other than like a couple details. Like almost all of the book is just like gone from my memory. So yeah, it was just really underwhelming and really forgetful. And I'm sad about that because again, it did have like decent reviews. So yeah. Then next we have a physical book that I read that kind of falls into the same category as the previous book, where I thought the book was really boring and forgetful, and that is The Gravity of Us. Now again, I was expecting this book to be really good because it seemed really good and I really liked the cover. But yeah, it was just really boring and forgetful, and it really dragged on, which is interesting considering the book isn't even that long. But yeah, you can tell from the amount of tabs that are in this that I really didn't like this. It literally has like one tab, and I think there's a sticky note in this as well where I like complained about some of the things that I didn't like about this book. So yeah, again, very forgetful, very boring in my opinion. I wish I liked it because again, I liked the cover, but I didn't. So yeah, again, very disappointing. Let's move on to the next book because again, I'm trying to like film this as fast as I can because I'm in a pain flare. So yeah, The next book is actually a book that I read fairly recently, and I actually did a buddy read with it, which was quite fun, but I didn't really like the book as much as I thought I would, and that is Bunny. Now, I've heard a lot of good things about this book, but it just didn't do it for me, I guess. It was really confusing, which I knew it would be really confusing because I heard a lot of people talk about that. But for me, it wasn't like confusing in a good way, because I feel like if I'm confused about a book, then by the end, I don't really want to be confused anymore. And that didn't really happen with this book. I was still confused by the end. I still am now, like a month after reading it. And I also read this during Disability Pride Month, which was a mistake considering that this has the R slur in it. I don't actually remember if the R slur is in it like multiple times or just once, but it is in here. And I really didn't like that because, again, I literally read it during Disability Pride Month because I know that the author has another book where it has a main character, I'm pretty sure, with chronic pain. And so I kind of thought, oh, if like the main character in that book is disabled, then maybe like this book will be like disability friendly at least. But yeah, it has like the R slur in it, which I know that you can technically put like the R slur in a book if it's like challenged, but I feel like it wasn't really challenged enough. So yeah, I didn't really like that I read that during Disability Pride Month. So yeah, I am gonna give this author like another try with like the other book that has like a main character who's disabled. I am gonna give that a try and see if I like it. But yeah, this book, I didn't really like it that much, which is sad because, again, I was expecting to like it, but I didn't. Then next we have a classic, and that is Peter Pan. Now, I'm not someone who reads a lot of like fairy tales. I just didn't really grow up doing that. So I wanted to read like a fairy tale that like kids read when they were young and see what I thought about it. And yeah, I didn't really like it. It was, again, very boring, very underwhelming. I only liked like the last 10 pages, and I talked about this when I first read this book in like one of the first ever like monthly wrap-ups that I did on this channel, I'm pretty sure. And I talked about how like on the last like 2 pages, like the book almost made me like cry a little bit, and I was really upset about that because I didn't like any of the book, and then the last 2 pages my brain was like, let's almost cry at this. And I didn't like that at all. Like, I don't like crying at a book, or again, almost crying at a book that I didn't like at all. So yeah, I am gonna try and read more like classics and like fairy tales to see what I think about them. But this one I just didn't like. So yeah. Then next we have a book that I actually filmed a reading vlog for, but I never ended up posting it until this week. Like, you guys won't see this video this week, but as I'm filming this, I will end up posting the reading vlog that I filmed like over a year ago, because I was really scared that like people were not gonna like the fact that I was very disappointed by this book and very underwhelmed. And so I'm gonna end up posting it this week. I hope that goes well. I hope people are not like too mad at me for it. But that book is It Ends With Us. Now, again, you can probably tell why I'm very scared to like talk about this book, because the author is very popular. This is the first book that I've read of her, and I was very disappointed by it, and this is supposed to be like one of her best books, and if this is one of her best books, I don't want to know what the others are like, which, again, obviously everyone their own opinion. If you like this book and you like the author's like other books, that's totally cool. But I didn't like it. I didn't like hate it either, but I was just very underwhelmed by it. Like, I'm someone who cries and gets emotional at books quite fast, and this book didn't make me emotional at all, which I don't know why, because it does have a very heavy topic. I'm not going to say what it is because that kind of spoils it, but it does have a very heavy topic, and I don't know, the way that it was written, it just didn't do anything to me, which again is really strange because I have read books with this topic before, in this kind of like genre of books, and I ended up crying at that one, but not at this one, which again, I don't know why. The book was just very underwhelming to me. I hope that it wasn't when I was reading it and I was filming the reading vlog, because I was again, filming a reading vlog, and I didn't want to be like, so I read a popular book and didn't like it, because I was hoping to like it like other people do, and I just didn't. And then I was scared to post a reading vlog, and now I'm actually gonna. But yeah, I wasn't like trying to hate this book, I just didn't. And yeah, so don't come at me in the comments for not liking this book or any of the books by this author, because I don't think I'm gonna give her like a second try, just because, again, this is supposed to be like her best book. So yeah, I don't think I'm gonna give her like a second try, because I'm just not interested in that. So yeah, let's move on to the next book before people like come to my house with pitchforks. So yeah, then the next book is another book by a popular author, but with this author I am gonna give them a second chance, because this was not like one of their best books. People actually are very neutral to this book, so I am gonna give them a second chance. But the book that I'm talking about is The Strange Library. Now again, I thought this was very underwhelming and a bit fast-paced and a bit confusing. But again, I am planning on giving this author a second chance, because this wasn't one of their like best books according to people. So I do want to give them another try. But yeah, I'm gonna move on to the next book, because again, I'm really not feeling well and I do need to film another video after this preferably. So yeah, let's see how that goes. Also, I still need to go to physical therapy afterwards. So today's gonna be fun. Then the next book is a book called BFF that I also got from NetGalley, and I was really disappointed by this book, because I saw that one of my like mutuals on Instagram, I'm pretty sure, requested this book and seemed to like it. So I thought I would read it, and I was really disappointed by it. I really didn't like it. If you've watched like any of my other videos where I talk about this book, you know how much I didn't like it. And basically one of the main reasons for that was the ableism in it. There is an autistic character in this book. They're not like the main character, but there is an autistic character in this book, and they're basically treated like horribly throughout the entire book. And they're called the R slur multiple times. It's not challenged at all. They continue using it throughout the book. I don't know how many times they use it, but at least like 5 times, I think. And I've said it before, how a book like this, which has like around 200 pages or maybe even less than 200 pages, if this book can have the R slur more than 5 times in that amount of pages, that is honestly an achievement. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that besides like a book about being ableist. Like I know that there's books like that I use the R slur way more, but again, they're usually books with the main topic being just like ableist to disabled people. This wasn't a book about being ableist to disabled. This was a book about like a very specific subject that I can't mention because this video will get demonetized. But yeah, it has a very serious subject, and the way that it gets treated, besides like the R slur, is just not good in my opinion. I just didn't like it at all. It made me feel very weird when I read it. And yeah, I didn't like it at all, which again was a very big disappointment considering this was a book from NetGalley. And it seems like I don't really have much luck with like good disability representation when it comes to NetGalley. Probably because like I don't have anyone to like read it for me and then write their review on Goodreads, and then for me to like read it and go, oh, this book is ableist, I'll just not read it. With NetGalley, like a lot of people will not have read the book yet because usually it's not out yet. And so I will not know if a book is ableist, and then I start reading it and it's ableist, and yeah, it's just not fun. So hopefully I will have more luck in the future with like finding books with good disability representation. So yeah, I'm gonna stop ranting about it now because I feel like I've been going on for a little bit too long, and I only have like 1 more book to go, or like 2 more books to go. So I'm just gonna like finish up this video so this doesn't go on for too long. So yeah. So then the next book is also by a popular author, but once again I am willing to give them like a second try because I do like some of their other like graphic novels, not really books, And once I say that, you might already know who I'm talking about, but the book that I'm talking about this time is Radio Silence. Now again, this author is very popular, but I was just very underwhelmed by this book. I think if I read it like a couple years ago, I would have liked it way more, because I feel like to a lot of people this book was like very like groundbreaking and new, and had a lot of like LGBT plus characters, and that was not like groundbreaking and new necessarily, but it wasn't really done that often to this extent. And I think because of that, a lot of people loved it and were like, oh my god, this is so great. But I've read like a lot of books with LGBT plus representation, so to me this was just like another one, and one that I didn't really like that much. Not necessarily because of the representation, but just because I thought it was boring. Like, I don't know, like the whole concept of the book just wasn't interesting to me, which might just be me, you know, not really liking like sci-fi-ish like themes. This doesn't really have like a sci-fi theme, but it kind of has elements of it, and I don't really like that. So yeah, I am willing to give this author like a second try, obviously, because I do really like Heartstopper, and I do really want to read their book with like a character who's on the A spectrum. I think it's called like Loveless, which I'm really excited to see what I think about that book once I can find it somewhere. But yeah, again, I just was very underwhelmed by this book. It was very forgetful as well. I don't remember anything about this book. Like, genuinely, I remember vague things, and that's about it. It just wasn't interesting to me, which again, I was really disappointed by because I expected a lot. But yeah, I think I waited too long to read this. If I read it when I was younger, I would have liked it a lot more. So yeah, let's move on to the last book. So the last book that I'm going to talk about in this video is kind of like an unpopular opinion. People are starting to now see that this book had a lot of issues, but yeah, it's still kind of an unpopular opinion because a lot of people did like this book, and that is Aridante. I know I'm saying it way different than the actual title, but I can't be bothered to actually like remember the full title because it's way too long and my brain doesn't want to remember it. But yeah, this book is obviously very popular. It won multiple awards, and it was just very boring in my opinion, and very transphobic. Like, I was expecting to just find it boring, and then like the last like 30 pages hit, and I was just like, yeah, this is awful. Like, this is awful. This went from like just being a bit boring to straight up transphobia, and how am I supposed to feel bad for this person? Because I'm not gonna like spoil the book, but basically throughout like a lot of the book, you're told that this one person is in prison, and you're supposed to feel like bad for them that they are in prison, and then you find out why they are in prison. And yeah, I don't understand how we're supposed to feel bad for them. Like, I genuinely don't understand. Like, it's just straight up transphobia, and I know that the author themselves also had some interesting like reactions to like transphobia claims. I don't exactly remember how they reacted, but it wasn't great. And then also like a second book of this came out. I don't know if it was like a sequel or something like that, but a second book of this came out, and that also had like transphobia in it. So like they didn't learn their lesson like at all. Like, people were telling them, hey, your book is transphobic, can you not? And they were just like, here's my second book with some more transphobia. Like, I didn't like that at all, obviously. I just thought that like I would find this book boring when I was reading it. And then again, the transphobia came, and I was like, okay, now I really don't like this book. It's not just boring and uninteresting, but just also, again, transphobic. So, yeah. Again, I don't like this book. I'm sorry if you do like this book, which I can understand that, I guess, especially if you read that during the time that this came out. Like, transphobia wasn't that well, like, talked about. So I can kind of understand that, but I feel like if you reread this book now, you're gonna be like, damn, that's some transphobia right there. So again, I can understand if you like this book, but I didn't. So yeah, let's wrap up this video now because I've been talking for too long, and I need to film another video and go to physical therapy afterwards, and I'm in a pain flare. So things are not great. But yeah, I am just gonna end this video here. Thank you for watching. Maybe put down some books in the comments below that you were disappointed by but were like expecting to like for some reason. So yeah, I hope you guys have a good day, and bye.